Hello and welcome everyone, I am Madals and welcome to another StarCraft 2 England cast. Today guys, I've got a best of one game. It is between Team prOpSnuffe, who is of course the red Zerg player in the lower left position. In the upper right position, we do have DruidzDuggi, who is the blue Terran. That means this is a ZvT. It's on Antigua Shipyard. It's not force cross spawns, which means this Overlord is going to go and scout the close position first. And well, obviously, we should be in store for a lot of fun. Now, I'm just taking a break from casting some of the Battle.net World Championship group stage games. I have just finished casting, and I don't know if I'm going to actually release the game I'm about to mention, or this one first, so do bear with me. They'll be within a couple of days of each other, though. But basically, I just finished casting the Idra v Stefano game, or games, rather. My goodness, they were absolutely amazing, like incredible, mind-bogglingly good. They were just seriously another level. Like, you've got your normal people, and then you've got them, and well, then somewhere in between is the rest of the pro community in terms of how good those games were. The game one was one of the best CVZs I have ever watched. Like, it was just incredible. But anyway, enough about that. Let's talk about this game. What are we likely to see? Well, out of Duggi, we should see a 1-Rax command center. It's pretty much the standard opening against Zerg. Now, it's just really, really good. From Snuff, we should see a 15 hatch, 16 pool, into 1 gas to get speed out, then usually get a relatively quick expansion, assuming that the Terran player goes for a fast command center. But that is not what we're seeing here. In the slightest, we're seeing a 1-Rax into a gas, which means we are going to see some early harassment, some early aggression, which is always fun, because it means we don't all have to just sit here listening to me talk about anything to fill the time for about 5 minutes, while they're both just like, hey, we like to macro. But anyway, what can we really expect here? It could just be some Hellions. It could be some kind of timing push. We'll wait and see, but Hellions are a pretty likely option. A Hellion expand is still pretty good. It hits a lot earlier than a lot of Zerg players are actually used to at the moment. I mean, there was a time when if you didn't Hellion expand as Terran, you were absolutely crazy, like completely head case. But now, obviously, it tends to go much more 1-Rax into a command center, double gas into the Hellions then. And of course, because it's so much later, then Zerg players got quite comfortable dealing with it, especially the Queen change, increased range and things like that. Whereas now, if you go sooner, which it looks like we're almost definitely going to get, the Zerg player just isn't ready for it. They're just like, what, Hellions? I'm not ready to deal with those for like another 2-3 minutes. And of course, that just means they can come in and they can roast drones like there's no tomorrow, like it's Thanksgiving and the drones are turkeys. Which I realised was a really bad analogy as I started going for it, but obviously being British, trying to make any kind of smart comments about things like Thanksgiving becomes quite hard because we don't celebrate it, obviously. But looking around, what else have we got? Well, yeah, we've got a couple more units coming down. We've got the factory on its way. We've got the double queen production out of the Zerg player, which is all to be expected. Droning. 4 Zerglings are on their way across the map. We'll see that SCV. Should go and pick that off fairly easily, but of course this is just denying map vision from the Zerg player and keeping him pinned back, which of course is going to be a problem. It looks like we're not actually going to see many Hellions. It looks like we're actually just going to have this followed up straight into a starport, so we could actually see some very, very scary things in anything from really just going to medevac out in order to elevate a play up here, which could be very strong indeed, all the way to getting a Banshee out. It just depends on what they're looking to do. There is a double gas up, so there's an awful lot of gas sitting here, which is what's making me think perhaps we may see a Banshee, because otherwise what is all that gas going to be used for? Not very much is the correct answer, but no, it's a medevac coming out. So my real question here is, well, why is there so much gas being generated? Because you're not really using it for much else. The Hellion has been spotted. Of course, the timing of this Hellion isn't too weird. These Marines are forward, and still the scouting's denied. And if we take a look at the Zerg's vision, well, pretty much nothing's been seen here at all. And that is a problem in itself, because as far as Snuff's concerned, if the expansion could be down, especially with the units sitting here, you wouldn't really defend here if you didn't have an expansion, unless you're trying to hide the fact you don't have an expansion, which is precisely what we're seeing coming down. Now, the Spine Quarter on its way, but really just a handful of Zerglings on their way out, which are not going to deal well against the Hellions and Marines. We do, of course, have the medevac coming over, and what's that following up with? It's going to be a tech lab, so we're going to have that medevac Hellion Marine play followed up by some Banshees, and of course everything loaded up. We're going to get a drop into the main base, and it is going to get picked up though by an Overlord. That is just such a good win. Of course, a lot of Zerglings pulling back, but as you can see here, these 3 Hellions are going to try and make their way through. And now we've suddenly got into a position where I'm trying to defend in 2 places at once. But of course, with the Overlord placement, you did Scout to go down, and that's forcing the medevac straight back. And this got shut down super hard. Like, ridiculously hard shut down. No damage done at all, pretty much, on either side, though, so that's okay. We do have the head-ins managing to get in here, though, but they are getting picked off. They didn't actually manage to get a work up. They got a grand total of 0 workers, and now are getting completely cleaned up. And Dougie's sitting there just being like, hacker, but no, definitely not. It was just the fact that an Overlord scouted the drop coming in, the fact that the Overlords saw everything coming across the map, to be honest, and as a result, some Zerglings got out. Everything was completely fine, so no, it was just good play, good scouting, which of course often can get disguised as a hack, but apparently this little bit of chat here has resulted in this drop coming down successfully, and this could now run into a bit of problems. The Queen just survives, which is of course very important. The medevac pulling back there. In terms of the creep spread, it's going quite nicely. There's extra Queens down here at the front, but nothing really trying to go down there. The Banshee is out. I'm sure there was one Banshee already. Where is it gone? I genuinely don't know where this one Banshee is. It must be somewhere on this map. Where is the Banshee? This is like really confusing me now. There we go. So we've got the 2 of them there. They're coming over. Cloak is done as well. 2 Banshees are going to be very strong here because, well, there's no lair and there is absolutely no evolution chamber inside. The first 2 Evos just on their way down now. But of course, these 2 Banshee are going to be able to do so much damage with Cloak before any sign of a Spore Caller. Meanwhile, though, Snuff going up with a bit of aggression, and there's only 2 Marines sitting there for defense. Speedlings are going to clean those up so quickly, and of course, a lift force at the natural base. But in come the Banshees, and both these players really going for quite an aggressive play at the moment. And well, in come these Banshees, they are cloaked. They are just going absolutely to town on these drones. They can just go and chase all of this down, and of course there's nothing in the way of Spore Callers yet. The first Spore Caller just on its way down, but so many drones are going to die before this point. These Banshees absolutely going to pay for themselves massively. 5 kills, 7 kills, 8 kills, 9 kills. I could count this all day, but obviously these Banshees are doing an absolutely beautiful job. So many workers are going to go down. Of course, the Spore Caller is now finished, but still, you can see here that these Banshees are picking off a couple more drones just sitting around here chilling. We've got the drop coming down as well. The spawning pool about to fall, and Dougie is about to be in a very good spot if that spawning pool drops, because that means no more offensive units come out, and that is going to be a big problem for Snuff if there's any counter aggression. But of course, Dougie just playing very defensive behind this. The Spore Caller is down, but the Queen gets knocked out very quickly, and in terms of workers killed, 25 knocked out there. That has leveled out the worker count, but for the moment this force has been forced to go back. But in terms of being cost effective, the Terran player really giving us all a lesson on how you engage cost effectively there. The Spore Callers are obviously down there at the moment. Dougie has got his expansion down now at last. He's got that tank in a great position, very defensive, and that's going to really put an end to any kind of Zergling pokes or prods. But of course, there aren't going to be any Zerglings poking or prodding because there's no spawning pool. And with no spawning pool comes no Zerglings, no Queens, no nothing except for drones and Overlords. And I'm really amazed that Snuff hasn't actually restarted that spawning pool yet. Like, completely shocked, because he's getting up his 3rd base, but he has no spawning pool. He really needs one of those. He's got no tech. Other than that, he can't get his lair started. And of course, we're up to nearly 11-12 minutes. I mean, in a standard game, you'll be getting infestors out at this kind of point. So that is something that's obviously needing to get considered. The 1-1 upgrades are coming out, though, for those Zerglings. But of course, 1-1 upgrades, also a 3rd done here for the Terran player. This single Banshee on its way across, but has run out of Cloak, so that is not going to be fun times. Could get a couple of kills here, though. Already has 16 kills on it, so that Banshee is proper hero mode. It's done everything that it could possibly ever need to do. And amazingly, Snuff still hasn't rebuilt his spawning pool. Like, this is an epic mistake, but there we go, it is finally started. But of course, it's just such a long period where you can get nothing but drones, and of course that isn't going to be fun. But at the moment, we're seeing this Banshee get yet more kills, staying out of range of that Spore Caller. The Queen's not up here to defend this, and as you can see, up to 18, 19, 20 kills on that Banshee. That Banshee has just been absolutely devastating. No sign of a counterattack, even if there was one. This defensive position is amazing, like absolutely phenomenal for Dougie, who is now really starting to catch up in terms of the worker count. He's pretty much equal. When you factor mules in, he's probably ahead in the income. Let's take a look at it. Yeah, slightly ahead by a couple of hundred resources minutes, so that is always a problem. The creep spread, though, from Snuff, really good creep spread. I mean, this is good. Like, fantastic. He's just getting creep everywhere, especially with the amount of aggression he's come under. These creep tumors are so nice. We've got the macro hatch coming down because you can't just build drones constantly, but obviously we do have a work advantage actually now going to the Terran player by 3, which isn't huge, but it's enough. We have these Zerglings just poking and prodding around, making sure there's no hidden expansions or anything. Duggi in a relatively nice spot. He hasn't started 2-2 yet. The armory is on its way down to allow those to come down. The lair is only just, well, a third done at 14 minutes. That is such a late lair timing, and as a result, Snuff really not looking like he's going to be in a position to be able to defend this, because not only is he behind in actual pure army size, he's behind in tech, he's getting the Baneling nest down, but I just don't think it's going to be there in time, and Zerglings alone are going to struggle so much. The upgrades are equal. There's one spine crawler which is moving forward that's going to die before it's even rooted, which is never fun. The tanks, well, sieging up in a very nice spot here, and that is just going to allow this third base to get picked off with relative ease. A couple of drones sitting there, the medevac healing up, needs to be careful with the spore crawler though, moving out of the way very expertly there, and well, obviously Duggi going to pick off the third base of the Zerg player, and well, while some Banelings are morphing, is Duggi going to wait long enough to allow those Banelings to become effective? We'll wait and see. Obviously, they're done. The 2-2 upgrades coming. The Baneling speed coming as well. But here comes the Banelings on the creep. They already have a good position. A great surround there by Snuff, actually, who manages to pick off all of those tanks incredibly quickly. And, well, that is really going to put an end to this. The medevac does pick up, well, 2 medevacs worth of Marines on their way over. But, of course, wave 2 of this push already there. And, of course, losing the third base is a big loss for a Zerg player. Meanwhile, the third orbital command was going somewhere. Not quite sure where that was planning to go, but creep getting generated, so the fact that it hasn't been scouted yet means that it is going to get nearly completely put down, which will delay the third base of the Terran by about a minute, which is always annoying. Now, obviously looking here, we've got just a couple more scans coming down, trying to pick off these creep tumors, but there's just so many of them. There's literally just hundreds of creep tumors absolutely everywhere. It is completely bonkers, and still they're not all picked up, but more scans going down. Of course, every scan isn't a mule, which is obviously good news for the Zerg player. But as you can see, we've got a bit of engagement coming in here, but the tanks up on the high ground, they need to be careful, because otherwise these Zerglings are going to just engage straight into the tanks. But using a couple of Zerglings just to allow the splash damage to kill the Terran's own units here. The 2-2 upgrades are getting pretty close. Centrifugal hooks about to finish up. Obviously that's Baneling speed to you and me. For the Terran player, we've got that Overlord still sitting there, which is denying this third base for just an absolute eternity. And this is all allowing Snuff time to get his own third base up. But a double drop coming in here in a nice position behind the mineral lines. That's going to prevent a lot of the Zerglings from being able to engage effectively. But, well, perfect positioning here in terms of those Marines, but it all gets picked up just because of too many Zerglings there at the moment. In terms of the third base, it's about to kick into action a long way before this third base goes down for Duggi, which of course is good news for the Zerg. But, well, in terms of tech, it's the lair, and the Infestors are starting to hit the field. And now Infestors, very strong at all stages of the game, but of course we're up to nearly 18 minutes here, and at 18 minutes you really want to be seeing Hive, Broodlords, those sort of things. Admittedly, the timings were knocked off by the ultra aggressive start, but that's no excuse when you start getting into the later stage of the game. You need to start thinking and planning your future, because otherwise you end up with a college degree in Zerg management, and you're just really confused how to get a job with it, because the Broodlords are just nowhere to be seen, and it just ends all so badly. But anyway, meanwhile, we've got obviously a lot of Zerglings sitting on here. The double drop sitting in the back, that's always going to be a threat. The 3-3 upgrades coming down for the Terran. The Zerg on 2-2, the Terran on 2-2 at the moment. We've got what is Hive just starting now at 18 minutes 40, so very late. We've got some scans going off just to get a good idea of the Zerg positioning, and this is really just allowing the Terran to move very boldly forward, get a good tank position. But of course the problem is there's a lot of units out at the moment. An infested Terran coming down here, that's going to allow that tank to get picked off very easily, so good little play there out of the Zerg. And well, what else can you do? The double drop coming in, that is going to be going uncontested, because of course the pressure at the front, the Queen's transfusing like complete beasts, but this is where a lot of the action's happening. So many drones going down here, some Queens going down here, the Zerglings pulling back trying to defend this, some fungal growths going down from the Infestors are effective. They're picking off a lot of Marines, but this drop is taking a lot of damage actually, and it looks like Duggi just doesn't have the APM to deal with it for the time being. Only at 180 compared to the 250 of the Zerg, so that is something that you really got to start thinking about, is are you spending that well enough? Obviously, we've got the Banshee here, we've got the Zerglings running forward, trying to do damage, trying to get the complete surround on the Marines, but a lack of Banelings may actually mean the Marines actually can stay up. The tanks are cleaned up though, that's pretty nice. Snuff is getting quite a long way behind. That Banshee doing so much damage, picking off literally loads, and there is the game from Snuff. He knows he's lost too many workers because, let's face it, he was down to 58. That double drop was just too much of the natural. So that was a fun game. It was a low GM level match. So if you did enjoy, please subscribe. I get games up daily. Leave a cool comment, like the video, etc., etc. And I'll catch you all tomorrow for yet another new game. Bye for now, guys.